I sell houses. Big ones with fancy views and elevators that whisper instead of ding. And the small ones, too. You know, the cozy types that smell like fresh bread and remind you of your grandma's hugs. I love both. There's something magical about helping someone find their place in the world. My office is up high, 22 floors above the chaos. It's all glass and sky, reflecting the clouds, birds, and the endless motion of the city. Most days it feels like I'm floating above it all. But let me tell you, everything changed because of a stupid coffee machine. That's where I met him, Mike. He wasn't just some guy in a suit. He had this energy, like when he walked into a room, even the furniture leaned in to listen. He worked at the firm next door. I'd seen him around, but it wasn't until I was wrestling with that stubborn machine one morning that our paths officially crossed. "You need a hand?" I looked up, bleary-eyed and caffeine-starved. There he was, grinning like he knew every secret the machine was hiding. "Yeah, unless you speak fluent espresso," I muttered, more tired than annoyed. He laughed, not a forced chuckle, the kind that warms you up a bit inside. "These things are more sensitive than my mom's cat," he joked, pressing a few buttons like he was playing an old arcade game. And just like that, 2 steaming cups appeared, one for him, one for me. "I'm Mike," he said, handing me the cup like it was the beginning of something. "Rihanna," I replied. "Thanks, this might have just saved my life." After that, we kept bumping into each other, first at the coffee machine, then in the elevator. And soon lunch breaks turned into little moments that felt like chapters of a book I hadn't realized I was writing. He had this way of making everything feel easy, effortless. Like talking to him didn't require energy, it gave you some back. We'd chat about work, life, movies, and once he even asked, "You ever think about doing something else? You know, not selling houses?" I raised an eyebrow. "Nah, I get to make people's dreams come true. Plus, I'm good at it. You?" He laughed and said, "Join the circus, maybe, but my mom would kill me." That was the first time he mentioned her, Martha. He lived with her, not in the cliché, "mom does my laundry" way, more like he took care of her. His dad had passed and Mike had stepped up. She even popped into his office sometimes. A little intense, sure, but sweet. He cared. And that's rare. Before I knew it, a year had passed. A whole year of shared coffees, casual lunches, and conversations that slid into deeper territory. It wasn't just fun anymore. It was something more. And then came the rumors. You know how offices are. News spreads faster than a bad smell in a tiny break room. One Friday, Liz from down the hall strutted over, popping her gum like she was in a rom-com. "Rihanna," she said, "word is Mike's gonna pop the question, like ring and all." I brushed it off with a smirk. Let him talk first. But truth be told, my heart skipped. I'd never been the dreamy-eyed type, but with Mike things felt solid. Like he was a rock I didn't know I needed. That evening, as the sun dripped gold over the skyline, he asked if we could skip the cafe and do dinner instead. There was something about his voice, nervous, soft. It made my stomach flip. He took me to this Italian spot tucked into a quiet corner of downtown. Candlelight, soft jazz, the works. He fidgeted all through dinner, barely touching his lasagna, clearing his throat every 5 minutes. "And then, Rihanna," he said, voice shaking just a bit, "we've been doing this, us, for a while, and I cut him off with a grin. "Spit it out, Mike. You're killing me here." He chuckled, then reached into his pocket and slid a box across the table. "I want to do this for real. Marry me?" Time froze. I thought about Liz's teasing, about all the whispers around the office, and then I looked at Mike. Really looked. And what I saw was someone genuine. Scared, maybe, but sure. "Yes," I said. My voice was steadier than my heart. The ring was simple. Nothing over the top, just right. That night, the world melted away. It was just the two of us. No gossip, no offices, no city noise. Just me and the man who made a cup of coffee feel like a handshake with destiny. But you know what they say, every fairy tale starts sweet. It's the chapters after the yes that test if the story sticks. And oh, mine was just getting started. Our wedding was exactly what I wanted. No big ballroom, no ice sculptures or glittering chandeliers. Just a garden tucked behind a small event space downtown. Close friends, family, flowers in mason jars. We laughed, we cried, we danced barefoot in the grass. It was real, honest. But the real test of love doesn't happen under twinkle lights. It starts the moment you take off your shoes, unpack boxes, and try to live your life together without losing who you are. So when Mike looked at me one evening, his hands stuffed in his hoodie pockets, and said, "Babe, I was thinking, what if we move in with Mom?" I felt my stomach drop. Move in? Yeah, he nodded, his eyes soft. It would save a ton on rent. Plus, she's been so lonely since Dad passed. I knew it was coming. He loved Martha deeply. I admired that. But sharing a roof with her? That wasn't part of my dream. Still, I smiled and said, "Okay, let's give it a try." We packed up my place in one weekend, stacking memories into cardboard boxes and bubble wrap. The day we arrived at Martha's house, she greeted us at the door like we were long-lost royalty. Hugs, cookies, a pot of tea already on. For the first few weeks, things were manageable. A bit tight, sure, but I told myself it was temporary. I played the good daughter-in-law role, helped with dishes, took out the trash, smiled through her stories about Mike's childhood for the 10th time. But then came the rules. How to fold towels, where to keep spices, what time to vacuum. She even had a chart for how often the sheets should be washed, I kid you not, color-coded. One night, as I was setting the table, Martha pulled me aside. "Rihanna, you need to start taking more responsibility around here," she said, arms crossed, lips pursed. "I work full-time, Martha, just like Mike." She didn't flinch. "It's tradition. The daughter-in-law takes care of the house." Right then, Mike walked in. I looked at him, waiting for something. A word, a shrug, anything. He sighed and said, "Mom's got a point. Can't we just try it her way?" That moment, it bruised something inside me. The silence from him felt louder than any argument. I smiled weakly and nodded. But inside, a small crack appeared. 6 months in, things only got worse. Martha started pushing for a new house. Something bigger, more modern. We could all live there in comfort, she'd say, circling ads in the real estate section. "Rihanna, you're in the business. Find us something perfect." I tried to be gentle. "Martha, houses cost money. It's not just buying one, it's everything after." But she'd brush me off. "You're smart, you'll figure it out." Every day felt heavier. And just when I thought I'd reached my limit, the universe served another surprise. Mike's sister, Jen, showed up at the door one rainy evening. Her mascara was streaked down her cheeks, a toddler on her hip, suitcase in the other hand. "He kicked me out," she sobbed. "He said I cheated. I didn't, but I'm done." Mike wrapped an arm around her like a scene from a drama. "It's okay. You can stay here as long as you need." "Stay here?" I said nothing, just nodded, again. The house, once tight, now felt suffocating. Jen was a storm in heels. Her son, Tommy, was adorable but wild, the kind of kid who could undo a clean room in under 2 minutes. Most evenings, I'd come home exhausted, only to find spaghetti on the walls, toys underfoot, and nobody watching him. Martha would be in the living room sipping tea like nothing was amiss. Jen would be scrolling on her phone, oblivious. I became the cleaner, the babysitter, the unpaid house manager. And Mike, he'd say, "Just be patient, it's temporary." But the days blurred, and patience has limits. Then came the final straw. At dinner one night, Martha, in her ever-so-sweet voice, dropped a bomb. "You know, Rihanna, you're working all day and the house is suffering. My friend's daughter, Lisa, is looking for work. Maybe you should hire her as an au pair." I blinked. "And who's paying her?" Martha smiled. "Well, you are. You're the one with the job." I looked at Mike. Again, nothing, just quiet chewing. "Fine," I muttered. "Let's meet her." Lisa arrived the next day. She was bubbly, helpful, young. Tommy loved her. The house got cleaner. Meals appeared magically, and I finally had time to breathe. But then something felt off. It started small. A giggle here, a glance there. The way Lisa touched Mike's arm while laughing at his jokes. The way he lit up around her, like she reminded him of a version of himself that didn't include bills and responsibilities. One night, I asked, "Do you think it's appropriate how Lisa acts around you?" Mike snorted. "She's just a kid. You're being jealous." Jealous? I wasn't sure. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was just tired of feeling like an outsider in my own life. Then came the missing things. A bracelet, a pair of earrings, a few bills, my favorite watch. When I asked Lisa, she gave me big innocent eyes. "No idea. Maybe you misplaced it?" I didn't believe her. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a hidden camera. What I found was worse than I imagined. Jen stealing my jewelry, and Mike with Lisa. In our bedroom, not laughing, not talking. Together, the world went silent. My hands shook as I watched the footage at a corner cafe, coffee growing cold. But I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I planned, and I promised myself this isn't how my story ends. After what I saw on that cafe screen, you'd think I'd go home and flip a table. But I didn't. I closed my laptop, finished my now cold coffee, and walked out with my head high. The thing is, when the people you trust most betray you, it breaks something. But it also builds something new, something stronger, sharper. That night, I barely slept, but not because I was heartbroken. I was strategizing. The next morning, I started collecting everything: footage, timestamps, screenshots. The lawyer in me that never passed the bar suddenly woke up. I wasn't going to scream, I wasn't going to beg, I was going to win. And the first move? A house. I left my laptop open, on purpose, on a listing. A gorgeous 3-bedroom home, way under market value, perfect yard, open concept kitchen, a dream on paper. Mike walked by, paused. "What's this?" "Oh, just something I stumbled on," I replied, feigning disinterest. "Too bad we're not looking anymore." He bit like a hungry fish. "Why wouldn't we look? This is amazing." Martha waddled over with her usual nosiness, peering over his shoulder. "Oh, Mike, it's perfect. Call them now." Mike, being Mike, called right then and there. He didn't ask questions, didn't do an inspection, just threw our money, my money, at the deposit. As he celebrated with Martha, Jen, and yes, Lisa, who was now acting more like his shadow than an employee, I sat back and smiled. "You'll help with the payments, right?" he asked me, like it was a given. "Of course," I said sweetly, already filing that moment away for court. Within a week, the house was theirs, all papers signed, Mike's name on everything, my signature nowhere near it. Then came the dinner. Oh, the grand finale. Mike stood at the head of the table, wine glass in hand, surrounded by his squad of betrayers. Martha was glowing. Jen was laughing with a wine buzz. Lisa looked like she was already redecorating. "Big news," Mike announced. "We're moving into the new house next week. Mom, Jen, and Lisa will be living with me. Rihanna won't be joining us." He said it like he was announcing a business promotion, like I was just some intern being let go. Lisa clapped. Jen raised her glass. Martha grinned like the cat who ate the canary. Then came the envelope. "Here are the divorce papers," Martha said, sliding them across the table with the smugness of a villain in a cheap drama. "Lisa suits my son better. You should leave, now." I took the envelope with steady hands, opened it, flipped through the pages, and then I signed, every single one, in silence. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't plead. I just stood up, pushed my chair back, and looked around the room. "Enjoy the house," I said, my voice calm, my smile quiet and deadly. And then I walked out. No luggage, no drama, just me, my purse, and my freedom. I moved into a small apartment the next day. Nothing fancy, but peaceful, clean, mine. A week later, I got a call from Sarah, a friend who lived near the new house. "Girl, you will not believe what's happening." "Try me," I said, sipping tea on my balcony. "Your ex and his little circus moved into that dream house, and guess what? The sewage system's busted. Pipes are leaking into the street. The whole block is complaining. It's a disaster." I choked on my tea. "Wait, what?" They skipped the inspection, didn't they? Now Mike's panicking. No money to fix it. The smell's awful. People are furious. I let out a laugh. Loud. Free. The kind that comes from deep in your belly when karma does its job better than you ever could. That night, I lit a candle, played my favorite playlist, and danced alone in my living room. They thought they won. But the house, the ring, the new life? It was built on lies. And lies don't hold up well when the pipes burst. After walking away from that madhouse, I didn't just want distance. I wanted justice. So I made an appointment with a lawyer, Mr. Davidson. Sharp suit, sharp eyes, sharper mind, known for tearing people apart in court without raising his voice. I laid everything out, photos, videos, timelines, the missing jewelry, the cheating, the fraud. He looked over the files like a kid unwrapping birthday presents. "Rihanna," he finally said, "you've got them, dead to rights." Good. We filed 2 things. 1, a lawsuit for financial compensation and emotional damages. 2, a police report for theft. Jen's sticky fingers weren't going unnoticed anymore. And that's when the calls started. First from Mike, then Jen, then, of course, Martha. I didn't answer. But one day, as I walked out of a late meeting, Martha stormed into my office building like a one-woman thunderstorm. She didn't even wait for the elevator, just barged in, her voice echoing through the lobby. "Rihanna, you think you can destroy this family and walk away?" Everyone froze. People peeking out of cubicles, phones paused mid-scroll. I stood my ground. "Martha," I said calmly, "you need to leave." Her finger jabbed the air. "You ruined everything. You tricked us into that house. You used us." I signaled the security guards without even blinking. "Please escort her out." They moved quickly, guiding her flailing arms and shrieking voice toward the exit. And just like that, the building was quiet again. It was sad, honestly, watching someone who once seemed so powerful lose all control. The legal proceedings came next. Mike, clearly advised to avoid the courtroom, settled quietly, paid a lump sum. The day he signed the agreement, his hands shook. Jen, caught on camera, was charged. No jail, but a conditional sentence, probation, and a court order to return all my stolen items. But the real fallout? Wasn't in court. It was at work. News had spread like wildfire. People whispered, pointed. Mike went from charming to cautionary tale in days. You could hear people joke behind his back, calling him Mr. Leaky Pipes, or sniffing dramatically when he walked by. He lasted another 2 weeks before resigning. And me? I breathed. I rebuilt. I rested. 2 months passed. My new apartment slowly transformed into a home. I filled it with soft lights, green plants, and peace. Pure peace. Then one day the phone rang. Martha. I stared at the screen, tempted to block the number. But curiosity won. I answered. Her voice was different, shaky, tired. Rihanna, you need to help us. I said nothing. This house, she went on, it's a nightmare. The plumbing's a disaster. The smell, the mold, we can't live like this. Mike's drowning in debt, Lisa's gone. Jen ran off with some guy, left Tommy behind. I let her speak. I wanted to hear it all. Rihanna, please. I know we made mistakes, but Mike, he's suffering. I took a breath, the old fury bubbling beneath my skin. But I kept it cool. Martha, I said gently, Mike made those choices. You all did. And now you're living with them. Click. I ended the call. That was the final goodbye. I walked out onto my tiny balcony, the breeze lifting strands of my hair. Below me, the city kept humming, unbothered, free. I stood there for a long time, staring at the lights. That night, I lit a single candle, poured myself a glass of wine, and wrote in my journal. Not about them, but about me. About the version of Rihanna who used to shrink herself to fit into someone else's life. Who said yes when she wanted to scream no. Who folded towels the right way just to keep the peace. That version was gone, burned out with the old pipes. I had my life back, my voice, my space, and as I curled into bed, fresh sheets, soft pillows, no drama waiting on the other side of the door, I whispered a promise to myself. Never again. Never again would I live small. Never again would I trade peace for proximity. Never again would I mistake being quiet for being loved. This was my clean start, and I was just getting started.